Alright, welcome back, guys. So I am getting dinner started early. We're having chicken pot pie, so one of the things I have to do is get a chicken in the oven, and it needs to slow roast all day. So here is the chicken. I have it in a Dutch oven, and it's not seasoned. It is frozen. It can cook from frozen just fine. I'm not going to season it until it's completely done, and I will explain later why. I also put one of these jars full of water in the bottom of it, and we're going to put the lid on it, and we're going to stick this in the oven at 350, and we're going to let it just cook all day, and it should be done, I'm thinking around 4-ish. Should be completely done around 4. It's like 1:15 right now. So after it gets done, I will bring you back to see what we do next. Alright, so our chicken has about an hour left. I think it's a little after 3 right now. It should be done a little after 4. And since we're making chicken pot pie for dinner tonight, we need to get started on the pie crust. So we are going to go ahead and do that now. And we get started on it early so it has time to chill in the refrigerator. So let's get started on that. I'm going to point you down to my bowl here. So I am not very good at making pie crust. I don't make them that often, like a couple times a year is about it. But we do need 2 3/4 cups flour. So we're gonna get that into the bowl here. And this is all-purpose flour. Make sure I have my 1/4 cup, not my 1/2 cup. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right, 2/4 cup or 2 3/4 cup flour. We have 1.5 teaspoons of salt that I literally just spilt on the counter. Make another 1/2 teaspoon here. So again, 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And then we got 2 tablespoons of sugar going in. Had to get my spoon. So we want to just give that a mix. Now the recipe that I found said that you could do this in a food processor. I don't have one, and I've never made a pie crust in a food processor. So I'm just making it this way. Alright, after that is incorporated, you want to add butter, and this calls for 2.5 sticks of butter. You want to make sure your butter is very cold. So this literally just came out of the refrigerator. The cold butter is preferred. It just helps the pie crust be flaky. And we are gonna cut this up. You cut it up into chunks. It's a little easier to work with. I have a Better Homes cookbook that I was going to use their recipe in it, but it calls for shortening and not butter, and I don't have shortening, and I wasn't sure if the butter ratios were the same, so I just found this recipe instead. This pie crust does say it makes 2 pie crusts, and that's what we're aiming for, because we're going to put a bottom crust and a top crust. Alright, and then get your pastry cutter, and we're going to cut this into the flour until it is nice and crumbly. The food processor would make this a lot easier and faster, but you work with what you got. crumble it until you have little chunks of butter. So we're just picking it up, making sure we don't have big chunks of butter left in there, which I don't see any really big chunks. All right, that looks good. Get it all out of there. Now it does call for 6 tablespoons of water, and ice cold water is always better because it helps with the butter staying cold. So I do know that you do not want to add a whole bunch of water at one time. Add little at a time, because you just want this dough to come together. You don't want it sopping wet like a bread dough. You want it a little on the drier side. So we're going to start with 3 tablespoons of ice cold water, and we're going to use this pastry cutter to get all that mixed in. So you do want to put enough water in to where it starts forming a ball without falling apart like it just did. I'm going to go ahead and add the last 3 tablespoons of water. You've added all the water that it calls for. If you find that you might need more water, feel free to add more water. You just want to make sure you don't get a real sticky dough. It needs to be a little on the drier side. Get my hand in there and get all that dry flour at the bottom incorporated in. Alright, so it is making a ball and holding its shape, and that is what you want. So I got some parchment paper, and I did get 2 pieces of it because this is supposed to make 2, so I might divide it right now instead of waiting. So we want to go ahead and dump all of this onto the parchment paper, and yep, it's going to look dry just like that. Now kind of gather it into the middle so it doesn't roll off your parchment paper. You want to just press this together. You can press it down, bring it up. You don't want to, you're not kneading it, you're just pressing it together. Move some stuff out of the way here. I'm gonna get my other parchment paper rolled out and get it separated right now. Okay, so we're just going to kind of cut it in half like this, and hopefully the recipe was correct. Try to keep it in one piece. We're going to move this half over here along with all of this. Alright, and this can be all scooted to the middle. Go ahead and cut that in half again and put this half on top. Again, we're just going to squish it together like that. And we're going to bring the parchment paper up over it and keep squishing it down. And hope this turns out. Like I said, I'm not very good at making pie dough. Alright. So there's that one. That's gonna set to the side for just a minute, just until we get this one done. I'm gonna do the same thing with this one. Press it together. And just pop over, maybe. Pressing it down. Ends up. Press it all down together. Alright, so now these are going to go in the refrigerator and they are going to chill until we're ready to roll them out. We'll be back. Okay, so our chicken is done. What we're going to do now is I'm just going to take it out of this pan. We're going to put it in this bowl so we can debone it. And it's still a little bit hot and I don't want to burn myself. So I did not season this chicken at all. And the reason I did not season it is because I'm putting leftover chicken in with it that was heavily seasoned already. So I'm gonna add that chicken, mix it all together, and then I'll season it if I need to add seasoning. So this is what's left for the chicken broth. We're gonna make a very thin gravy out of that. And to do that, I'm gonna need my whisk and a measuring cup here and put some flour in it. Alright, so I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit of flour in. I'm not gonna do a whole lot. I'll get this turned on. And I'm gonna whisk this together. Now we are gonna add milk to that as well. These are really stuck. Okay. I'm gonna get some chicken bouillon cubes, but my jar is stuck. So nice thing about canning jars is if you stick something underneath the edge of the lid, they'll pop out. I'm going to stick 4 chicken bouillon cubes in here, and they will break down with the hot water. I need to just buy a big jar of bouillon powder because I do not like these little cubes. They're too hard to unwrap. And we're going to leave our pie dough in the fridge and wait until very last to roll it out. I want it to stay nice and cold for as long as possible. We're also going to add water to this as well as milk. And we're going to preheat the oven to 375. That's what this is going to bake at. Now I don't have a recipe I'm following. I'm just making this up as we go. I am going to flavor the broth. I didn't put my stuff back, so I'm losing everything. I should have probably added more water to the chicken so I'd have more chicken broth, but I did not, and that's okay. Water, chicken bouillon, and milk work just fine. Now I have this other bowl out because I was going to make a slurry and then dump it in here, but I decided just to go ahead and make it in the pot. Alright. I have just a little bit of salt here. Now the chicken bouillon, you gotta remember they're salty. So I'm only adding a little salt right now. And then when this stuff is ready to taste, then we will add more salt if we need it. So this is garlic powder. And then we're gonna add a little bit of pepper and find it. Alright. We're gonna turn this down on low. I'm actually gonna bring it over here. Starting to get a little bit too dark for my liking. And my phone does not. Sorry about that. Camera shut off. Anyways, so it's starting to thicken up pretty good. Bouillon cubes are not quite mashed down. We're adding hot water to that. As again, adding cold water to a hot pot, not a smart idea. And this is a cast iron, so there's a potential we can crack it. Excuse my dog. They bark at every little noise. Alright. Added a little bit more water. We're going to go ahead and add a little bit more flour. And we're going to turn back onto the burner here. Just have to let this burner cool off for a few minutes. I'll whisk all that flour in there. Alright, I'm only going to add a little bit of milk, so I'm not making like a crazy amount of gravy here. I do want it to have a little bit of milk in it. Alright, so this needs to come up to a boil and thicken, but we're only going to cook it like at a 4 because I don't want it to burn. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and use this bowl to debone the chicken. I'm just going to debone the chicken over here. When we get that done, we're going to add the chicken into it. And, okay. Now it looks like somebody ate my corn as well. Give me 1 second here. So I had leftover corn in the fridge, but somebody ate it, and I did not know that. So we're going to put peas and carrots in here instead. And that is, the peas and carrots are cooking in the microwave. But we do have the leftover chicken. And this thing was full, but somebody ate it. That's why I had to cook a whole new one. I'm just going to use this. Now this chicken is very heavily flavored. That's why I'm waiting to flavor the other chicken. I don't want to over salt anything. And this still has some of the grease that it comes with, the broth, kind of gelatinous broth. And my hands are clean. I'm just feeling the chicken to make sure it's cool enough to touch. And we're going to use mostly breast meat off of it. We're just going to break it up in here. I'm going to make this hopefully in a 9x9 high plate, so long as I can get my crust to stretch that far. Or maybe just a little bit smaller. So I'm not adding the whole chicken in, I'm just going to be doing the breast meat. a little bit warm. We want to make sure we don't forget about our gravy here, because we're still wanting to thicken it up. And the bouillon cubes look like they finally dissolved. I'm going to taste that here in just a few minutes. As soon as I know I got all of my chicken off and shredded up good. And I don't know if I told you what temperature, but I just cooked this on 350. I'm not sure if I mentioned that before, but it just cooked at a low temperature all day. This is how I normally make my roasted chicken. Alright, so that's all the breast meat. That's just leg and stuff in there, so later on I will debone that and use it for something else. But there is juice in here that I want in the gravy. So, make sure we have that. So we're just gonna mix the hot and cold chicken together. And I think this is gonna be plenty seasoned, because I really seasoned that last chicken that we ate. And it's gonna be in seasoned broth anyways. If you see my dirty drain boards in the background, don't worry. I just being a little lazy and didn't want to do dishes today. Alright, so I'll go ahead and give that a taste. See if we need to add any more seasoning to it. Nope, I would say that's pretty good. So my oven just got done preheating. What we're gonna do is, I think my microwave is done too. So we're gonna go ahead and just put the chicken back in here and let it all combine. And I'm gonna go get my peas and carrots. Now ideally you wouldn't want to pre-cook your peas and carrots. You would want them to stay frozen, or thawed. You wouldn't want them frozen or thawed. I don't want the extra liquid in there. But like I said, I thought I had corn, and I did not, so I had to proceed to get them unthawed. And this is just microwavable peas and carrots. Now you could add potatoes to this if you want, but I'm going to make potatoes on the side. We're going to get rid of the whisk, because that's a bad tool to use when you're mixing this. Just going to combine it, get it all mixed. Woo, flop it all over the stove apparently. Alright, so we're going to leave that like on 3 so we can let it thicken. And then we're going to go ahead and move over here to where we are going to make the pie crust. I pulled this pan out to do the chicken in, then woke up and decided I could use the pan I cooked the chicken in. So I got the pan. I figured this one is going to be big enough to make the pie in. So we're going to sprinkle some flour on here because we don't want the pie crust to stick. And this is a, oh, what is this? I can't see it very well. This is a 7 by 11. I don't think my pie crust would fit in a 9 by 13. So we're going to actually put this pie crust back in the fridge until we're ready for it. They say key to a good pie crust is keeping it as cold as possible for as long as possible. So, hopefully that rolled out nicely. And flour your rolling pin. I normally don't work with very cold crusts. And if this doesn't work, we'll just have the chicken stuff over potatoes, and that'll be fine. I don't think I got my pie crust wet enough. Like I said, I don't make pie crust well. Takes a little bit to roll it out when it's this cold. I might have to scratch the pot pie bottom crust and just stick this on the top because it's not holding together. Okay, I think that's what we're gonna do. Need so as soon as that thickens up, I think I might be able to put this on the bottom. I just noticed my pan has some dust on it. This house is extremely dusty. So we're gonna roll that out. That should be good. Let's see if we can maybe, we'll see. We're gonna try. No guarantees. If anybody has a good pie dough recipe, and would like to share it, I'd greatly appreciate that. Because I do like making pies, I stink at making pie dough. My mom and my sister were the pie dough makers. And that's not too bad. That fits in there actually quite perfect. We're gonna go ahead and leave it on the sides like that. Clean up this extra pie dough. Clearly that didn't want to work out. Alright, we're gonna go check over here to see how the chicken is coming along. It is boiling. Doesn't have to boil long, I just want to make sure that that's all thicker. You don't want like a gravy thick, but you also don't want the broth to be really thin. Kind of like a potato soup broth. You know how it's kind of in between. So we're going to check it now that we have everything in there. I'll lean over here. Hot. Okay, so we can go ahead and put that in the pie now. Bring you over here. So we're just going to do everything, the rest of everything over here for right now. I'll get the other pie dough in a minute. We're going to set this on a pot holder because I'm not 100% sure if my counter will crack if I set something hot on it. I'm not used to tile counters. I always have linoleum. All right, so we're just going to scoop this in here. And this is going to be a very thick pot pie. Fill it up as much as possible. All this is going in there. More like a deep dish pot pie. All the liquid probably will not go in there, but all the stuff will go in there. We're gonna Okay, we're gonna call that good for the liquid. I gotta go get a slotted spoon. We're gonna go ahead and use my spider here and put the pot up. This will allow the liquid to drain out. Don't want to waste any of the vegetables or the chicken in there. Okay. Got a good spread around there. Alright, we're going to go ahead and put this stuff back on the stove. Turn my burner off. I'm going to rinse my hand off. I got the wavy on it. Okay, so I'll set this back over, move the pot holder out of the way. I'm gonna get rid of this older flour. See how much of it I spill on the floor. Okay, I'm gonna get my other pie crust here. Gonna do the same thing. Sprinkle a little bit of flowers here, probably not as much. And then we're gonna roll this out with it on top of that pot pie. So you can see the butter chunks in it. If you can see those light spots, that's all butter. Apparently that's what gives it the flaky crust, is to have big chunks of butter. I knew butter and shortening is what made crust flaky, but I didn't realize people left them that big. And I'm just rotating my crusts so I get a better roll on it, more even. Try not to break it. At this point I'm just eyeballing it to see if it gets that, which I think we're good. We're gonna leave that kind of thick because it is breaking worse than the other one did. And we're just going to set it on top like that. Got it in one piece, mostly. Okay. Now we're gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna actually put an egg wash on that. So we'll put an egg wash on it, and we'll also poke some holes in the top of it. I should have probably done this on the bottom shell. Oh well. We'll know for next time. I'm just using the same whisk that I was using for the chicken gravy. No point in dirtying up something else for an egg wash, although I do need my pastry brush. Maybe. Let's see here. I might be able to do this. I think that's going to work. Normally I would use a spoon or a pasty brush for this, not usually a fork. But it's working. I just want to cover the top. This will help it with a golden brown. And alright, so we're going to go ahead and put it in the oven. Now our oven is preheated again to 375. And this is probably going to take, I don't know, however long it takes that crust. I'll check it in about a half an hour and see if the crust is done. That's all we got to cook is the crust, because everything else was done. Setting our timer for 30 minutes. Alright, wash hands off again. Okay, so I'm going to wash this pan out and then get some potatoes on to boil. So we're just going to use the rest of these red and yellow potatoes. I just washed them. So we'll go through and see if there's any like bad spots. I've seen a couple. We'll just throw it over here in our waste bowl. And I always leave the skins on when I cook red and yellow potatoes. They taste better that way. Just want to make sure you get them nice and clean and that you don't have any bad spots on any of them. Which these are looking pretty good. No bad spots. Alright, so I'm going to fill this up with water. Okay, so I'm just going to put the lid on this, and this is the same lid that I cooked the chicken with, so it's fine to use still. We're going to turn the burner on to about 7. We're going to boil these until they are fork tender, and then we're going to mash them. We're going to put a paper towel over that chicken. I was going to have fried potatoes tonight, but I have very little energy and didn't feel like frying them. Alright, I'll bring it back when it's done.
You have stuff delivered today?